We will now share with you some short rowing techniques. First of all, you need to place your hold button in the H position. I will first show you how to short row a shoulder. You would take the number of stitches required by your pattern into holding position opposite the carriage. You will knit one row, then you will manual wrap that first needle with your yarn going under the first needle and up on top of the rest. We will then bring into hold stitches on the opposite side of our machine, knit one row, again wrapping under that first needle and on top of the rest of the needles. Make sure your weaving brushes are taken off if you have them on at this point. Opposite the carriage, again, we will bring stitches into holding position. We will knit one row across and wrap underneath our first needle. Again, we will bring stitches on this side into hold and knit one row, remembering to wrap our end needle. You will continue in this manner, short rowing the number of stitches required for your pattern on each shoulder. Once you have completed your shoulder shaping, opposite the carriage you will place your needles back until the latches just start to close. You will knit one row across these stitches and then repeat at the other side of your machine. You will then remove your stitches on scrap and ravel cord. This will give you a shaping to your shoulder. If you do have a pattern stitch in your machine, such as Fair Isle, do not knit that one row over your last row of stitches. You will remove it before you place them back into work. Now I will show you how you short row a neckline. In short rowing a neckline, your pattern will tell you to take everything opposite your carriage from 0 over and place it into holding position. Then there will be a certain amount of stitches that will come off on the other side of 0. They again will be placed into holding position. You have your hold button on, you will knit one row, you will wrap under your end needle and knit back. Then you will be told to take another group of stitches and place them into holding position. You will knit one row, you will manual wrap under that first needle and return your carriage. Again, you will be told to take a group of stitches into hold, knit one row, and manual wrap. At this point, you may be told that you will be doing straight knitting, or you may be told to only bring one stitch into hold. Whatever your pattern calls for is what you will do. As soon as you cannot bring a stitch into hold when you are on this side of the carriage and you have not short rowed for 2 rows or placed a stitch into hold, then that means you can no longer short row. So if I have 4 rows of knitting, at this point I could no longer bring a stitch into hold when I was decreasing. I would have to take my transfer tool and decrease at this point. Keep your edge weight moving over with your work so that you have your end needles working correctly. Once you have finished this shoulder, you will remove your stitches on scrap and ravel cord. You must then go back to the row where you started your neck shaping, return the row counter to the appropriate row, place back into work by just pushing your stitches or your needles back till the latches start to close your other shoulder stitches. At this point, we will take our thread and thread the carriage. Do not carry your thread from this side of the needle. If you try to carry from here over to these needles, you will drop the first few. So what you want to do is take your thread on top of the holding needles and down in between where the needles will be knitting. Now you will continue to short row in the same manner as you did the first shoulder by placing stitches into hold on the neck edge, knitting a row, and wrapping under your end needle. You will knit back, place the appropriate number of stitches into hold, knit one row, wrap, and knit back. You will remove these shoulder stitches on scrap and ravel cord just as you did the first set. Again, taking your thread across the top of the needles. As long as you are not in pattern work, you can knit one row over all of these neck stitches that are still on the machine with your main color yarn to avoid dropping those stitches when you pick them up. If you are in a pattern stitch, you should remove on scrap and ravel cord at this point. I will knit one row with my main color yarn because I am strictly in stockinette stitch, and then I will scrap off. And that's how you can short row a round neck versus using your decreased tools.